All right. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Ellie Santanato. I am one of the career advisors here at the Career Center. And today we are going to be talking about job search tips and tricks. So in today's presentation, we're going to go over organizing your job search, some resume and cover letter basics, as well as how to tailor your documents. We're going to include some networking during the search, as well as building a community of searchers, and then finally staying on top of trends. So when we're thinking about getting ready to start our job search or internship search for some of us who may be more at that early undergraduate level, one of the big questions that come to mind might be, how many jobs or internships should I apply for? And it's really a personal answer to this question. How much time can you dedicate to looking at job search websites? How much time can you dedicate a week to customizing your resume and cover letter to those job applications, as well as possibly even doing some networking during the week as well? So it's a good idea to it's a good job search strategy to identify and apply as many relevant opportunities as you can. The reason, pretty obvious. The more you can apply for, the better your chances are of getting an interview. And the experience of pursuing multiple opportunities builds valuable research, project management, application, and interviewing skills, which are not a bad thing. When we're thinking about organizing our search, we can think of it into these kind of different categories. So one of my biggest recommendations is to start a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, Word doc, Excel file where along the header of the sheet, we have kind of these categories. We're going to rank our interest level, which will help us kind of prioritize which applications we want to complete by week's end, as well as including some relevant information about the position itself. What's the job title? Who's the employer? As well as the posting date. It's really important that we pay attention to jobs that's been posted within the last 30 days. Even better, pay attention to only jobs that have been posted in the last 2 weeks, and try to apply within 2 to 5 days of the job being posted or upon finding it. So many cases I've had advising appointments with students, and they find a dream job or a role that they're really interested in. They put off applying to the job for a couple of days. And when they're ready and go back to apply for the job posting is no longer live on the website, LinkedIn, or other job search tool. And that's because either the organization got enough applications or there was an application close date and they decided to remove it from the website. We also want to pay attention to, if it is posted on the website, what the deadline is. Again, most job postings have a rolling deadline, so it's to our benefit to apply sooner rather than later. One unique category that we can include in this area is status. In this area, you can track the date submitted as well as any progress towards a job offer. Excuse me. So this is really useful if we have received an opportunity to interview. We can keep track of interview dates coming in as well. We might also want to have a link to the job applications or the job employer's website. This is going to come in handy later as we're researching the role and organization to customize our resume and cover letter. So we want to have a handy link, as well as type of role. Labeling the type of role, for example, nonprofit, social media, or museum PR, can help you quickly identify similar roles. So that way you can use related documents as a template. So you might have a cover letter template that's dedicated just for nonprofit social media positions, or you might have a cover letter template that's dedicated to museum PR. We also get an idea of what kind of roles we're drawn to as we kind of identify and categorize them in this area of the document. So here's that idea a little bit more expanded as a pro tip. Remember the type of role we just referred to? You will save a lot of time by labeling each opportunity carefully in your job spreadsheet, so you can easily adapt a previous resume or cover letter that matches the new role that you're applying to. And here we get an idea of some other categories, such as policy researcher, community outreach, fundraising and events, data and policy research, as well as community outreach. So this kind of brings us to our career toolkit part of our application of our presentation this evening. So to get us started, we're going to go over a resume. So what is a resume? A resume is a marketing tool. And one thing that tends to trip advisees up is that they have to include your entire work history. And that's actually false. Your resume doesn't have to include your entire work and educational history. Instead, we should really customize it and use it to promote our most relevant strengths and experiences. As we begin to think about resume design, we want to keep in mind the importance of immediacy. The design of our resume is a big factor in the reader's experience and comprehension. Yes, we can labor over word choice and accomplishments to include in our bullet point statements. We will go over that later on in the presentation. But unless you've considered the design of your resume, you risk the reader skipping over the most important content. So on average, a recruiter or hiring manager typically only spends about 6 to 7 seconds on the resume. And when we're designing our resume, we'll have a visual example on the next slide. We really want to keep in mind the way people read. People read screens in an F-shaped pattern. So that consists of reading across horizontally, followed by a vertical stripe. And so we can see that here in this example. We have our information all the way across, and we're really trying to avoid that 2-column resume design, where we might have our contact information, skills, education experiences on this 1/3 of the screen, and all of our relevant experiences kind of taking up this 2/3 of the screen. We want to design our document to help our readers easily access the most important information. Employers are short on time, so we want to stick to one easily digestible page until we maybe have 3 to 5 years of full-time professional experience. We want to make sure we can have consistent formatting across all experiences and have a smart use of white space to help our readers skim for pertinent information. To help us do that, we want to really utilize headers, because headers allow our readers to know what to expect in each section. They might not have time upon first read through to go through and shift through our very detailed contextual bullet point statements, but by providing categorized headers, the recruiter has a good idea of what our bullet points and previous work relevant experiences include. If we have some honors and awards or extracurricular activities or study abroad experiences, we want to highlight what we're proud of to stand out from that crowd. And then finally, we might want to consider having skills sections. Skills are going to be utilized and infused throughout the entire document, but a standalone skills section calls out our most relevant strengths. And as a tip, we want to avoid soft skills. This section at the bottom here should focus on more concrete tasks that you can perform for the employer. When we're thinking about skills, we can break them down into a couple different categories. Soft skills are more personality traits, so things that come easily to us. Hard skills we can define as more technology pieces or languages, skills that we might need an additional program for, or we really have to commit to practicing and utilizing in our everyday life to be strong at. Then the third type and most relevant type of skills are transferable skills. These are strengths that we are able to develop in our classes and other relevant experiences. We develop them through our part-time jobs or through internships. And it's really the idea of, yes, I developed a skill in this experience, but I can transfer that knowledge and my ability to do that into another career area. And those are the types of skills that we really want to highlight down here in a standalone skills section. Some ways that we can show experience on a resume. So this slide is kind of going over some optional headers or other categories we can consider. We can include relevant or related experience, which can range anywhere from leadership opportunities, from extracurricular activities, research or project experience, from relevant coursework and volunteer experiences, our general work experiences. A work experience section on our resume can range from our part-time jobs to student employment and internships. And if you're concerned about not having enough relevant work experience, think about those skills, those transferable skills that we just talked about, and focus on explaining how and why we developed those in our bullet point statements. And then some other categories that we can consider adding to provide a more holistic picture of who we are in our resume is a summary statement, study abroad, honors and awards, and then that skills and technology section. So featuring projects on your resume. This is a very underutilized section, and I highly recommend all of you consider adding it to your resume. We at the Career Center define projects into 4 main categories. The first being research projects that demonstrate your skills in data analysis, problem solving, and attention to detail, as well as volunteer projects, which are a great way to showcase skills and the social or community issues that are meaningful to you. Creative projects demonstrate your ability to create designs and content relevant to a wide variety of careers. Technology and design projects showcase your knowledge of software and other tools. Something to note on technology and design, if you find yourself to be a CDM major, specifically someone who's focused around computer science or user experience, the majority of your resume is going to be technology and design projects from your classes, because that's how you're going to show and demonstrate to employers that relevant experience. So this slide kind of goes over a couple different examples of how we can design and utilize project sections on a resume. We have an example of a research project, an example of a creative project, and an example of a tech and design project here. As we can see, each of them have a title, so this kind of takes the place of your traditional position title that you would have for a work experience, as well as maybe defining the organization / class it was for, and categorizing the type of project as well. And just like our work experiences, we're following that bullet point standard. So instead of having large chunks of text on a resume that might make it harder, chunks of text, I mean like paragraphs, instead of having paragraphs on our resume that may make it harder for someone to skim or read, we really want to stick to that to bullet points. So how do we write bullet points? We have a pretty handy formula that we recommend all of you utilize and use as you're developing your resume and trying to showcase and demonstrate those transferable skills. So our bullet point formula breaks down into 3 parts: action verb plus an example plus the results. So we can think of an action verb as describing what our role was. And then we can think of the example as who we were working with and how we were conducting that type of work. And then finally, for the results, we have the why. And this is that extra contextual piece to our resume that really provides to a future employer an understanding of, hey, this is what my role was, but this is how I understand my role to fit in with the larger departmental goals or the larger aspect of the organization, perhaps. It's also a great way to demonstrate our achievements. So if we're in a fundraising role, describing how much money we fundraised and if it was like over any goals that we might have had. as I've mentioned, it just provides an overall understanding of what our job was. So we have two examples here. The first one is an average bullet point statement with an action verb. We have tutored an 8th grade student. This is straight to the point, tells me exactly what you did, but it doesn't necessarily tell me how you did the work or what the larger results were. So we want to add in that how piece and what the why piece. So tutored an 8th grade student in geography using contemporary stories to strengthen engagement and critical thinking skills. By adding those larger details, it really gives me an idea of what you're skilled at. I know that you are able to teach 8th graders. I know that you have a contemporary understanding of geography and that you are skilled in engaging, and you're a pretty engaging speaker or teacher, as well as you're skilled in critical thinking. So we have two more bullet point examples here on this slide. We have planned, which is our verb, recreational events for the children of the Boys and Girls Club. That hits on the experience, so what we're doing, who we're working with. And then finally, we have resulting in a fun and relaxed environment to help children participate in productive after-school programs, which is ties it all together with the results or the why piece of it. On the right side of my screen, I have another bullet point example. Coordinated is our verb. 3 fundraising events for local shelters. This is the experience piece, who we're working with. And then for the results, which hits on why, how, and what changed, we have which raised more than 8,000, 20% over our goal, and great dollars, and greatly improved community awareness. So I hope we can kind of see through these 3 examples really that hit all 3 of those bullet point formula pieces, how we can really demonstrate to employers and really highlight skills that make us qualified for the job. So in addition to our resume, we also need to write a cover letter. The cover letter that we include with our resume is incredibly important. It's an opportunity to make a strong case for yourself and to demonstrate your superpowers. Your cover letter is where you make your pitch, summarize the skills and experiences that make you perfect for the job, and express your passion for the field and interest in the company. So when we're thinking about a cover letter outline, we can break it down into 4 to 5 paragraphs. The first paragraph we can keep mainly the same between all the cover letters that we need to write for our application. In the introduction, we are going to include the position title and the organization that we're applying to, our personal credentials for the job, maybe our major, where we are in our studies, as well as a personal brand statement that just kind of summarizes why we are qualified again. So talking about that educational experience, talking about maybe internship experience that you might have, as well as something personal to your identity that makes you a qualified candidate. The first body paragraph, I would say, is the most important paragraph of the entire cover letter because we customize it to the position and organization. This paragraph is all about telling an organization why we want to work for them. And the reason why we have it second is because hiring managers can be a little bit lazy. So the sooner that we can kind of hook them with that nice little compliment of, hey, I want to work for you, and here's why, the more likely they're going to read the next 1 to 2 paragraphs that kind of demonstrate to them why we're qualified for the job. If we're having a hard time customizing that second body paragraph, we might want to use some other resources outside of the job description itself. We might want to go to the organization's website. Do they have an about page? Do they have their mission statement online? Has the organization been in the news recently? We want to research the organization a little bit so that way we really know what we're talking about when we're describing why and we want to work for them. After buttering up the organization, we're going to tell them why we're qualified for the job. And we can do that in 1 to 2 paragraphs. And we want to connect our resume to the job application here. So we want to talk about maybe a class that we took and the final project that we had that gives us that academic background that makes us qualified to talk on a particular subject area or advocate for a specific group. Or we might want to talk about an internship or a part-time job that we had where because of the specific project area or instance that you might have experienced, you are highly qualified now to do it day in and day out for a full-time job or for an internship. The reason why we have 1 to 2 of these paragraphs is because we want to keep each individual paragraph specific to that situation and to the job. Then finally, we have our final paragraph. This can remain basically the same for every cover letter that you write. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. I look forward to hearing from you. Here's my contact information, and then you close it out. When we're thinking about the design of our resume, it kind of looks like a traditional letter still. In the top left corner, we're identifying that organization. If they have a physical office space, identifying which office space we're applying for. We're going to date our cover letter upon what date that we're submitting our application on. And then in terms of formatting, unlike academic writing, where we might be double spacing and then indenting at the beginning of every paragraph, we're going to single space and we're not going to indent to begin each new paragraph. Instead, we're going to have a physical space between each paragraph. The last thing I want to note about cover letters before moving on is how to address a cover letter. We really want to avoid writing to whom it may concern, and we really want to try to address it to a person. So we can do that by looking at the job description. Is there a person to contact if we have questions? If there is, this is probably going to be the first person to look at our application, so we can be pretty comfortable addressing the cover letter to them. They may even potentially be our manager and doing the entire hiring process themselves. If there isn't a person to contact at the bottom of the job description, we might want to take a look at the summary of the role. Sometimes in the summary statement on the job posting, it might state who manages the position, but instead of providing a name, it might provide a position title. So again, this is where we have to become researchers. We would go to the organization's website, look on their employee page, and try to match up the position title that is stated in the job description and match it up with someone's title and name on the employee website. And then we could address it to that person. If we're not really able to find someone who has a position title that matches up either directly or fairly close to the one listed in the job description, then we can just address it to the job description itself. If none of that is provided, we will not default to whom it may concern. We will then address it to the organization itself. This extra piece just provides a little extra bit of customization. So when we're tailoring our documents, the first thing we want to do is identify how our background and skills align with the role. We want to take a look at the job description, look for keywords that relate to the types of experiences and skills that the employer is looking for, highlight that and write it down, write down the likely keywords. The next step 2, incorporate the keywords into our resume and cover letter. Look for opportunities to use keyword language in your accomplishment statements, your skills section, and throughout your cover letter. This is extremely important to do because of something called ATS, or applicant tracking system. For some organizations, before a human even goes ahead and reads your application, they might put it through a computer system that scans your documents for keywords and phrases. And this takes me to why it's important to make sure you save your resume and cover letter as PDFs, but not just as PDFs, but as readable PDFs. Readable PDFs typically come from Word or Google Docs. Word, when we develop a resume and cover letter using a word processor. If we develop a resume and cover letter using a template provider or Canva or some sort of builder, sometimes the PDFs aren't readable and become encoded. So all of those keywords and phrases that we added are kind of put to waste because the computer system isn't able to grab them out, and your application no longer lights up like a Christmas tree, if you will. Other customizing tips: don't duplicate your cover letter or don't duplicate your resume. A cover letter gives you a chance to sell yourself as the best candidate for a particular job. Use your cover letter to clarify your resume, but don't repeat it. Instead, explain how your work experience uniquely qualifies you for the job. Do some research. Before you even think about your cover letter, do some research. Understand what the company does, what the company culture is like, and the key characteristics of the job you are applying for. Review the company's website, then explain why you're interested in working for them. That's paragraph number 2. That's all of that is what we want to answer in paragraph 2. Finally, make yourself a distinct candidate. Clearly articulate how you are particularly equipped based on your skills and experience for this opportunity, and describe your enthusiasm for this role. Sometimes this involves explaining or translating a non-traditional skill set or a career pathway. Inventorying your skills. You have skills and experiences that will get you to the next step. Make time to step back and inventory how you can add value to an employer. Identify the relevant skills and experiences you bring to the job/internship market. Should help you launch your search with more confidence and a better sense of your value. This inventory should include hard skills like database management, durable skills or transferable skills like collaboration, and technology skills like Adobe and Photoshop. As well as identifying our skills, we want to be prepared to upskill. So the economy and workforce has seemingly changed overnight, and some industries are experiencing a decline while others are growing exponentially. It's important to track the skills and functions that the market needs right now. Upskilling might be as simple as investing an hour to try out a new digital tool like Canva, or check out a LinkedIn Learning course. All of you who are current DePaul students have access to LinkedIn Alumni or LinkedIn Learning courses. It's a feature that DePaul pays for, and so it's part of your tuition. And you don't have to be an expert to add a skill to your resume. You just have to be ready to learn. In other words, ask yourself, yeah, I have a basic understanding. If I was able to watch a YouTube video, would I be able to teach myself the skill? We've kind of gone over this a little bit already this evening, but the importance of skills and keywords. So why should you focus on skill-based keywords? Hiring managers often rely on a software to select the best candidates. That's that applicant tracking system we were just discussing. By scanning for keywords in the resumes, cover letters, and even LinkedIn profiles. If your materials lack the keywords they're looking for, you might get overlooked. So on average, the corporate job gets about 250 applications. 98% of Fortune 500 companies use that applicant tracking systems to scan for keywords, and only 30% of applications are actually read. And to increase your chances of getting your application read and being part of that 30% is why it's important to pay attention to the posting date, pay attention to the deadline, and apply to jobs within 3 to 5 days of finding the job or when the job is posted. So we've designed our resume, we've customized our cover letter, we've identified those keywords and phrases and skills that we need for the jobs that we're interested in, but we still want to get more involved. How do we do that? Well, we want to network into the fields that interest us. It has never been more important to build our network, making time to connect with professionals in the fields and roles we are targeting, as it is essential for a successful job search. Keep in mind that we're all going through this kind of transitional time period together. And when you message someone on LinkedIn or via the Alumni Sharing Knowledge or Ask platform, which is dedicated to DePaul alumni who want to mentor current DePaul students or other DePaul alumni, start with empathy and concern for where they might be at this current moment. Have a specific goal in mind for any connection, an informational interview, seeking a mentor, learning more about trends, etc. An informational is a great interview is a great networking tool as well as research tip or research experience. Informational interviews can be incredibly productive in a no pressure, low stakes kind of way to learn about a field and explore career paths and build our network of contacts. If they offer the opportunity for you to talk with professionals about their career path, profession, organization, and industry. And these conversations can take place in basically any format, in person, via the phone, Zoom, Google Hangout. And some of the most important places to look are LinkedIn, Ask, our friends and family, as well as professional organizations. We want to build a community of searchers. Launching a job search in a time of economic instability can be intimidating and exhausting. We need to remember that this is part of the career journey and our resilience is a transferable skill we bring to any role. We want to be able to connect with our peers who are in the same boat as you, and they can help you stay accountable and energize yourself. So I know we're all kind of cameras off and muted, but take a look around the Zoom room this evening because you're building a community of searchers here. Everyone in here is going through the same thing, and we can lean on each other for additional support. Finally, we want to stay on top of trends. So launching our job search in a time of economic instability can be exhausting. We want to find people to listen to on LinkedIn, listen to industry podcasts, watch TEDx videos or TED Talks of thoughtful leaders in our industry spaces. We want to take small steps like these to make process and be more active and less reactive in our job search. Finally, if we're a really type A person and we want to have more than just kind of that application document, we can continue to expand our spreadsheet with some more tabs to help us organize our search, resources, connections, and jobs. So examples here would be a job search tab, some networking targets, links to blog posts or podcasts, or those LinkedIn videos that help us stay on top of trends, as well as links to resources that we provide at the Career Center, as well as other webinars and professional organizations. So feel free to connect with us. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen for just a second. And then I'm going to show you how to schedule an appointment with me or another career advisor. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat while I pull up how to schedule an appointment. Okay. So this is Handshake, and you can join Handshake by going to depaul.joinhandshake.com. Everyone should be able to log in using their D2L or Campus Connect credentials. We might be familiar with the website already, as we were able to find and register for the event this evening. But for anyone interested in meeting with me or another career advisor, we would want to go to appointments, schedule new appointments. If we're a first year student and we want to do some career advising or resume reviews. If you're a first year student, you don't have to just use this category. You can use any of them. Or if you're kind of in that exploration phase, feel free to click on one of these two. If you have an idea of which career industry you're interested in, such as business, entrepreneurship and consulting, education, nonprofit and government, healthcare and science, media, communication, arts and entertainment, as well as tech and design, we can click on any of these areas. And again, this career communities are open for students at any grade level, as well as alumni. Coming to the Career Center is a feature that you do not lose as an alumni. And so click on the career community you want, and then find the next date, time, available modality that works best for you. We'll go ahead and have you schedule the appointment, describe how we can help you, as well as provide that necessary contact information. This is our Career Center website, and throughout the presentation, I shared a couple of there's screenshots of a couple of asynchronous resources that we have on our website. How to get to them is you want to go here along the banner and go to resources, career library, and this is where we can find our Hire DePaul blog website. So all of us career advisors write monthly blogs, as well as some career videos on our YouTube channel, and then a bunch of PDFs that we can access at any time. So this is where we could find a resource that goes over how to write a cover letter, perhaps a little bit more in depth, as well as providing kind of an example cover letter here. And here's a direct link to that resource as well. Once you've drafted a cover letter, or your resume, feel free to come and meet with me or another career advisor. If you want to know any other ideas of what we could talk about, again, resume and cover letters, interview tips, job search tips, going over the internship and other relevant experiences, how to network, your personal brand statement, navigating salaries and job offers, skills, graduate school, career exploration and transition, and then as well as professionalism. You can meet with any of us career advisors on any of these topics for an appointment. If you want to learn more about career community advising, as well as our career communities, just go over here to these tabs, and you'll be able to explore that resource as well.